Good morning, guys. It's Friday, 12th of January 2018. And today, the Friday webinar is going to be mainly centered around the programming side, and we're going to build an EA as part of the DAX Trader course. And so we'll continue with that. And today, we're going to make quite a lot of progress on that. But the first part of the session today is just going to be a quick roundup on the DAX. So let's have a little look here. Now, the most obvious setup that we have that's developing on the DAX is this expanding pivot here, which you can see quite clearly going all the way back to kind of November. And it started down here on about mid-November with EP0. And then we've started expanding out. Now, the good thing about this particular setup is its symmetry. It's very, very good that it is respecting the lines on both sides. And often what happens when you get to pivot 5 is it retraces somewhere back towards the middle of that setup. And we had a good reaction here. There was a bit of a, well, I'd imagine that was probably bearish divergence up here. I haven't actually looked on the oscillator, but I'd imagine it was. So we had this second high that just peaked across the top of the first mirror bar set here. Not really enough for me to consider that a wash, which is what I was personally looking for. I was expecting more of a reaction up there in order to get short. But it was the perfect entry. It didn't actually break above these lines. It was short from up here with a stop above the line. Would have been a very, very good setup. And you could have got yourself probably somewhere near 10 to 15 to 1 if you'd have shorted somewhere in here, maybe on the test of that level. So you put a stop up there, test of that level, get down towards there, near on 9, 10 to 1. If it goes on to complete its target. So we have two different opinions at the moment. I mean, if this was to now go on and complete its bearish move, let's consider that. At the moment, zooming into this a little bit more, you can clearly see the minor swings here. You've got that high, you've got a low here. It attempted to retrace some of those losses, didn't get particularly far, and then zoomed past the previous low to confirm that as a minor swing high. So at the moment, that is our trend defining level. So we are bearish below 13.3. And at the moment, looks like we've kind of tested this initial ignition lower at this point right now, maybe up to the last hour or so. Slightly bullish start to the day, but we've now looked to continue with the minor swings. So really what we need to do is we need to see a break below this low here to suggest that it's going to continue in this trending form. And then we start to actually have a pretty clear trend developing with pivot 1, pivot 2, pivot 3, pivot 4. We'll allow then to start anticipating where pivot 5 might top out or bottom out, which would be somewhere down here. If we're just using the basic work of Alan Andrews, and that would actually shoot a little bit past this horizontal line that I've drawn out here. Now, the chart's getting a little bit busy at the moment. I hope you can still follow me through this, but I'll just talk you through what these lines are. So if we were to zoom out and take a look at this expanded pivot and just do a very, very basic Fibonacci retracement tool, all right, just use the 50 line on that tool. Don't use the 38.2 or the 61.8, just ignore them, but just go from start to from bottom to the top, take the 50 line, that's all we want. That'll be about halfway of that move. And you'll also spot that that represents this kind of area here, which was probably a quite clear point of control. And we could maybe get that with a volume profile tool when it loads it up. But you'll probably clearly see that there's going to be an area there of interest, definitely a value area. Well, there you go. So that's pretty much the zone where a lot of the volume over this particular consolidation period accumulated. So you'd imagine the price is going to go off and test that zone if this bearish move continues to completion. So let's just get rid of that. And this ACR line kind of ties in quite nicely with that. So the ACR line was based on Alan Andrews' work. You pull it through pivot 1 and 4. Put it back to the beginning of the move, and it gives you an opposite and equal reaction on the other side of that center line where you can predict price might move down too. And that will provide us a bit of confluence, because then we have the area from the volume profile. We also have the the completion of that ACR line set and that 50% line of the retracement. They're all roughly in that same sort of area, which gives us a bit of a target to go for. So that's to the downside. And if this continues higher, then really the main sort of chart that's dominating at the moment is this 4-hour chart, which has been going on my articles for some time now, which is this one here, pulled from the A, B, and C. And you'll notice that price zoomed through the median line after bouncing from C. And Alan Andrews says that when price zooms through a median line, it will often test that median line before continuing in the direction it was heading. If that's the case, and this does hold, okay, and there's one more assumption here relating to this high here, but if that is the case, then we're currently on that median line right now. We've just tagged it. We've found a reaction to it. If it continues to build from here, then this might offer an opportunity. However, it's assuming that this isn't a failed attempt by the buyers to take out this high, which was its job. In order for this swing to kind of continue that way, you'd imagine that that would needed to have taken out this high. One other observation that I have made, and I'm just going to remove this fork, just make it go grey, was this one here. Excuse me. So if we take a modified shift from that A, B, and C point there, because that is a mountain, then you'll notice how price has been reacting to these lines. Look, median line is pretty good, cut through that little zone there and had some reactions on both sides, but it's capped price as it started to find a mini bearish bias. I say mini because it's been consolidating, moving sideways, but there is a slight bias to the downside. But it's still captured price. So there's quite a few interesting things happening at the moment. We're keeping an eye on it, and we'll wait and see how this develops. If I had to pick one, I mean, I normally go for the bullish side, but if I did have to pick one, then I would rather find 4-to-1 setups to probably find a completion of this move, because at the moment these minor swings are in control, and as long as we identify the swing that we're trading, it's pretty easy to know which side we want to, which direction we want it to follow. And at the moment, we're bearish below 13.3. Simple as that. If we get a retracement closer to 13.3, it offers a nice reward to risk ratio, somewhere like this, but we're looking for at least 4-to-1. All right. So that's kind of my thinking on the DAX for now. And I was doing some replay work, having a look for some other opportunities to signal through for you guys. But over the last couple of weeks, I've had a few things to take care of with my partner not being very well. So it will get back to normal fairly soon. So there you have it. Thanks for listening. I hope that was useful for you guys, and we'll see you in another one, maybe another time. Okay, but for now, we're going to move on to the programming side. So if you want to walk out and do your own thing, then this is your cue. But if you want to stick around, then we are going to jump straight into some coding.